winning the 29th district on Tuesday. This was the seat that was held by Democratic Senator Chuck Colgan since I think James K. Polk was president. We can't even figure out how long ago that was, but Colgan retiring and McPike with a very impressive victory on Tuesday night. Obviously, the Republicans winning the District 10 student event race, so it didn't change who's in control. But I predicted everything on target on Tuesday except one race, and that was Jeremy McPike's, and he proved me wrong. I thought Parrish was going to pull the upset. So as tradition for me, I always get on the number one person the next day that I predicted wrong. That's one of the reasons we have Jeremy McPike. And the other reason is the guy ran a great race. I mean, that's just the bottom line. And a very impressive victory. And now he is Senator-elect Jeremy McPike from District 29. That is Prince William and parts of Loudoun. And he also had to overcome a massive landslide victory by Prince William Supervisor Chairman Corey Stewart. Stewart is going to run for something. We think lieutenant governor, but a big win there. Having said all that, without further ado, Senator-elect Democrat, District 29, Jeremy McPike. Hey, Jeremy, good to have you with us, man.
Hey, good morning, John. Thanks for having me on the show.
Great victory Tuesday night. You faced what I thought was the toughest candidate you could ever face in that district, and Hal, good guy, family lineage you went back. They raised a ton of money. Parrish ran probably one of the best campaigns ever. If you look at it strategically, you had to overcome the Republican wave with Corey Stewart winning big in Prince William. You had to overcome that. A very impressive victory. How did you manage to pull this off? We were watching Jeremy during the night, and it was kind of Parrish was ahead a little bit, and then it was neck and neck, and then you pulled away. What happened?
Well, first off, no question, Mayor Hal Parrish, really was the best candidate. Hard campaigner. They ran a great campaign as well, and he's a public servant, and so I always respect folks who step up like he has and ran a great campaign. Our challenge was to make sure we reach out to the Democratic base, engage them on the issues, engage them on both education, transportation, and frankly, as you know, universal background checks, came into this race, and I think really activated folks who were interested. Our campaign did a lot of neighbor-to-neighbor, door-to-door campaigning and reaching out on the neighborhood issues, which is, as you know, critical.
Would it be fair to say that your race, I know the Democratic Party of Virginia and Terry McAuliffe's PAC put a lot of money in database identification and trying to find out who the Democratic voters were and getting them out to the polls in off-year elections. There's a couple of races where that just didn't materialize. Was that a factor in your race?
No question. Knowing where our likely voters are is definitely key, and to make sure we reach out to them just multiple times, tell them about the importance of the race, hear from them also on what they care about, and that's always key. And so we're able to successfully execute that and move forward and talk to folks, and we really built a heck of an organization, both engaging in volunteers throughout the summer into the fall, and kept that momentum moving forward.
Well, I should have known better that you were going to win because you lost a very close race to Republican House of Delegates member Scott Lingenfelter in 2013. I think he beat you by a couple of hundred, and you were a pretty big underdog in that going in. You almost pulled it off, and I remember when Richard Nixon won in '68. He said, you learn how to win a close race by losing a close race. So you had that one, and then you had a tough primary battle. So your family, look, Jeremy, you've got three young young daughters. We understand it. Your family has been through you campaigning now almost nonstop for a long time. Plus, you work in Arlington in Northern Virginia. Is your family now ready to get their dad back home for a while?
Well, first off, I owe my wife a few date nights. That's for sure. So that's first on the agenda is catching up and really spending some time with my wife and 3 girls. They've been great. We first sat down and talked about the campaign. My oldest daughter said, Dad, I'll be your chief speechwriter, and my 10-year-old said, Dad, I'll help out with finance because she's interested in money, and my youngest daughter said, Dad, I'll be your chief door knocker. And so the whole family was on board, and I think we all learned a lot from 2013.
Right. And
really how to balance. You have to find a good balance when you run for office like this. It's hard on everyone. Mm-hmm. And so you got to get that sense when the family is feeling the tension, you got to take a break and make sure they're doing well. And I think we learned a lot and did a lot better job this year at balancing that.
Well, you're spot on about date night, Jeremy. I'm a big believer in date night. That's how I've been able to survive in my marriage for all this time, and I fight for that because it's easy to get involved in other stuff, and you've always, especially with young children at home, you've always got soccer or something going on or baseball like we do. But date night, man, you're spot on. That you do that, you're gonna be fine, no question. By the way, my date night is Friday night. This night coming up this week, we're going to be at Vino's in Chesapeake. Okay.
Yeah. That sounds like a great recommendation.
It is. You got it. Now I've got my election night co-anchor, Mike Watson. Like, he botched his date night totally. I got to explain to him how to do date night. He's out there talking policy with people with Amy. It's like that doesn't work, right? Date night is not about talking policy.
Yeah, you can't do it. That's an immediate strike against you.
I know, it backfires.
Yeah,
okay.
And Sharon and I, we just celebrated a meeting. We met 25 years ago. Halloween, and we've been married for 15 years, so we've got lots to celebrate.
How did you meet her?
Actually, on Halloween night, a friend of mine called me up and said, "Hey, if me and the 2 other girls are going to go out, you want to come out with us?" And said, "Absolutely." And actually, Sharon drove and came by the house and picked me up, and we spent hours laughing. The very first night we met, and got to meet her parents that night. Became great friends for almost 6 years before we decided to start dating. So,
wow,
it's a great start.
That is a wonderful story. It's always good to you hear these stories every so often about how the best marriages are when you became friends at the beginning and then went on. I had the opposite story. I laid eyes on my wife one time. She was at a bar at a happy hour after work, and I absolutely went bananas and pursued her like crazy. And to this day, after all this time, she still has the hold over me. If the phone rings, Jeremy, and her picture pops up, my heart races. So I'm just stuck. There's not much I can do about it now.
Sure. Well, John, it takes building relationships, as you know, and that's with all those that are serving the General Assembly. And so, even if the Democrats successfully won the Senate majority back, you'd still have to work across the aisle with those in the House of Delegates, and you got to take a step back. And you might not agree on tactics, but if you can take that step back and talk about goals and common goals and how we can move Virginia forward together, that's where we make progress. And it is about building personal relationships with other members of the General Assembly, and that's going to be key to 2016 for me. Is to reach out, hear from other folks on issues in their districts, find out what those commonalities are with the 29th Senate District, and figure out how we can move forward together.
I know you campaigned on a couple of issues. Is there one particular objective that you have that you are determined to get done in 2016? Well,
I'm very interested in reforming SOL. Personally watching my 10-year-old go through the math SOL last year, did fine on the test, but just the high stakes and anxiety, just making sure we were looking forward to reform. Also, I know the governor is really looking at this next year's budget and focusing on education. And so I think there are a number of things in the education realm that'll be important this year to continue to move forward.
Let's talk about these I-66 tolls that the governor talked about for the being able to drive in the SOV line and the SOV lane at $8.50 each, $17. It became a campaign issue. Republicans came on my show and said they're going to get this repealed immediately. I know it came up in your race, Hal Parrish at the end, having some TV ads on it. Democrats, though, have told me that the whole thing got blown way out of the reality for what it was. What is your position on it, and is this ever going to be a reality where people have to pay $18?
Well, my concern is that we've got to understand that if we're doing tolls, much like 95, in the new capacity that was added, you have to add capacity, and that's my concern with the proposal. It's been in public comment, and they're certainly getting public comment on it. Tolling for a road that's already been paid for and built doesn't rub people the right way. And now the governor's proposal obviously says, look, you're not supposed to drive on it right now because it's HOV2 inside the Beltway. And so that segment, he rightly said, and alternatively, you can pay to drive on it. I think there's a compliance issue right now. As proposals get revised and looked at, we would need to make sure we understand where that revenue is going to go for. And if it's not tied directly to adding capacity along the corridor, we got to have a different discussion on this.
I think you're taking the right approach on that. I think if you went to people and said, look, you have the option to pay $8 or $8.50, whatever it is, to drive on the HOV2 lanes, and we're going to take that money and we're going to add a lane that's going to be then free, I think that would change the dialogue. But it's when, we're going to charge you if you want to go on it, you can do on it, but then we're going to take that money and have a bicycle path through the woods. It's just, that's a tough sell to people, especially in the economy that we're in right now. It's one thing to sit in the governor's mansion and you're flying around on private jets, Jeremy. It's another thing. There's a lot of people that are struggling to get through a week that can't figure out how they're going to scrape enough money together on the weekend to take their children to the movies. And now you're talking about $17 tolls for bike paths. For a lot of people in this economy, Jeremy, it just doesn't play. We are out of time. I want to thank Senator-elect Jeremy McPike for being with us. He's a bright, new, young face of the Virginia Democratic Party, and hopefully we'll have him on our show a lot. I think he's going to bring a lot of energy and enthusiasm into the state Senate, and we certainly look forward to having him.